think. Hold on. Let's see if YouTube catches up. There's always that little delay because I got bored waiting and pressed the button a couple minutes early. There we go. And come on, YouTube. Or are you waiting until it's 8? You might just be waiting till it's 8. I think I just heard myself. There we go. And come on, YouTube. Yeah, there we go. We're going until it's 8. Let's just mute that. Hearing myself in the background because I still have my browser window open. But yes, I know the stream is still labeled September. I'm still running a tiny bit behind on doing these monthly. I got distracted. It's the only answer. Got distracted. In addition to that, to be fair as well, half of the distraction is because I mentioned stuff happening last stream. I didn't want to jinx anything by mentioning it on a stream, so literally next week it's going to be moving. Like I'm going to actually be in a different space this time next week. So yeah, that's been something that's taken priority, that's for sure. But most of that's sorted and done now. My phone volume is still on because I need that to actually watch the chat. We are very organized today, as ever. But yeah, we're here. We're alive. We're breathing. And before I show, well, it's already in the thumbnail, but before I show what we are working on today, this is what we managed to get done last week. I decided to just take a picture of it because this is currently in a case for said move. The Ball Predator from last month managed to get all the volumes sorted out and cleaned up. I just kind of went a bit too bold on toned that down. Got all the markings on it, and we have the fancy flamer tank, which quite appropriately timed because literally the new rules for this for the Blood Angels go on pre-order this coming weekend. So me sitting back focusing on the move has meant I've not been playing with rules that are about to expire. Which has been good because I've been able to focus on something else. I've been able to. I actually played my first game of Age of Sigmar yesterday, and that was interesting. That was fun. But that's a whole other discussion that we'll have when I'm actually in the midst of painting. To that end, there's a funny cheese box. Let us transfer over to the actual setup. As you can see, that's where the phone was hiding, and as you can see, these paint shells are empty because the majority of my paint, except the stuff I think I'm going to need for this, is now also currently packed. But big old Dreadnought, going to be specifically a Death Company one. It's literally just a Brutalis, but you paint it differently, going by the funny rule card. Let's put that back. And just for point of comparison, just to show the size difference in certain things, because, like I say, this is a Brutalis Dreadnought that you just paint a certain way and say it's a Death Company Dreadnought. And this is what Death Company Dreadnoughts used to be. Yeah, there's some extra girth and heft there. I can't even get them side by side properly on camera. Unless, there we go. Like the entirety of this thing's mass probably just fits in the torso of this thing. So they make them a hell of a lot bigger. Well, that's what happens when you go from Firstborn to Primaris. But that is the waffling. Let us actually get some stuff done. Like I say, big angry Death Company Dreadnought. Hopefully as well. Because I can guarantee some of the points that are printed in the codex are going to be different by the like not long after the codex releases. So that's going to affect what we're going to be painting over the last bits of the year. Because, like I say, the goal was always get a 2k point of Blood Angels. What that constitutes out of the stuff I've already painted in this guy, like what that remaining section is going to be, is going to very much hinge on what those final points are for the year. Considering how many times I have changed the stuff I've been painting based on points, should have seen that coming up. But right now, what we're going to do, I'm going to start off with the black. Got some Dark Reaper, which is like a bluey grey, just to make our black a little bit more interesting. And to make that easier, this guy is still a little modular. So this arm will pop off. I've already popped off the shoulder pad. There we go. And as always, I've already sort of like pre-pepped the silvers and things like that because no one wants to watch me just paint something silver and wash it black. There we go. That'll pop off. That'll pop off. Is a reason. The stream paused for a second on my phone. I got concerned. That'll pop off, and we can start just with dry brushing our main chunky body. Of course, dry brushing something so big, we need a bigger brush. I'm constantly watching the stream on my phone. Let's just make it the chat. So I'll need one of the foundation brushes. Let's go. Do we start with you? Yeah, we'll start with this thing. Let's get some of those loose hairs yanked out. Like I said, just to make the black a little bit more interesting, I'm just going to use some tones that introduced a bit of blue. Probably what I'll do is I'll dry brush with this bigger brush, and then I'll move down to a smaller one just for some more concentrated hits. But yeah, just get that on here. And we'll start on the bit that doesn't have a big white segment where I'm going to put some livery. If I don't immediately drop my brush. Just like that. We get a little bit of this. Granted, to anyone who watched me paint the Dev Company jump intercessors, it's the exact same step, just on a bigger guy. Like, here's the big, rough pass, and we'll do a smaller, more focused pass later. Yeah, let's stipple a little bit on up high. Just add a little bit of texture, and we could always tone it down with some more black later. But yeah, first game of Sigmar yesterday proved to be, honestly, pretty interesting. Like, it's in this weird balance of like, okay, you're very much like the 40k I'm familiar with, to the point where some of the rules are just some of the rules from previous editions of 40k, like how characters work, etc. But the turn order system, the fact that there's a system for turn order should tell you enough already. That's where the biggest, weirdest differences were, and I kind of dug it. Like, it sounds like it could be really swingy and unfair at first if I say every round you roll off to see every round, like you go, they go, you roll off to see who goes first for that round, so you can get multiple turns in a row. Immediately, your brain goes, I'm not sure how I feel about that. But in practice, it actually kind of works because they sort of like balance it out with uh, if you're going first and you're going first consecutive, well, you're getting turns consecutively. Every round you would also pick a something called a battle tactic. Basically, like my goal for this round is to achieve this. If you go first consecutively, like in that situation, you actually can't pick a battle tactic. So you're actually denying yourself some points for the sake of some of that extra agency. And at the same time, for those of you familiar with 40k, stratagems. Obviously, the game has stratagems because that just seems to be the wheelhouse. But unlike 40k, where every army has like there's universal stratagems that everyone can do. I'm just doing the arm, so I just realised that wasn't on camera. Universal stratagems that everyone can do, like Overwatch, heroic intervention, etc. Age of Sig, and then like stratagems that each individual army gets, like say Armor of Content for Space Marines. Age of Sigmar does something different, where, from what I can tell, there's only universal stratagems at Age of Sigmar. There's only the stratagems that everyone can do. Which, considering that there's a butt ton, fair, a lot easier to keep track if you already are familiar with what everyone can do off the cuff. But 90% of them, what it feels like, are stratagems that just let you do a thing in your opponent's turn. So, say I'm the player that gets multiple turns in a row. my opponent can still choose to move a unit, shoot with a unit, charge into melee with a unit in my turn anyway. So they still get a good bit of agency there. And like it's just interesting. It's something I'd have to play with a bit more just to get like the hang of it and get like a proper feel of like, is this or is this not bullshit? But it's an interesting way to change it up. Right, so that's just a very rough pass of Dark Reaper. Just on the black. Managed to catch some of the white on this, but that is to be expected. So we'll move to a smaller dry brush and just hit it with some more Dark Reaper, just a bit more concentrated in places. Looks like he's big. He's going to be reflecting a lot of light, even if his armor's black. And, I can get into some places that the bigger poofy brush couldn't. So this one is our next brush, a lot smaller, more of a chisel shape than the little fluff. And yeah, we'll just, like I say, stipple a bit more up in here and a bit closer to this top angle. And across this. Some bits down here I couldn't quite get into, and the little housings for the mounts for the melter guns. Yeah, that was very interesting. That's to tie into. I think I've mentioned it before on previous streams, but if I do this next year as well, I think it would be my Seraphon that I do instead of my instead of more Lamenters. It's like, okay, let's get a 2K army of dinosaurs painted up. I know I've definitely mentioned that before, but sometimes it bears repeating. More for myself. Yeah, with the crotch plate. So that could be if I wanted to do this again next year, or if I just want to have a year of just relaxing a little bit. And let's pop this open. Ooh, ooh, some of that stuck a little hard. Hold on. That was from when I washed the metallics for sure. Yeah, there we go. Just gonna hit the sarcophagus. I am hitting some of the metallics with this as well, so hopefully that is something I can tidy up. Close you back up. And plus, if I do the lizard men, my brain still wants to call them lizard men. It's officially the Seraphon next year. There'd be a lot more variety in colours, that's for sure, instead of yellow and black. I've already got some Croxagores painted up, sort of a earthy green. There is a theme. I forget if I mentioned it, but I can't be bothered to explain it again. And I've got my Agrodon leader partially painted up. I think I've shown him on a stream before as well. And he's like a big red macaw. Right, there we go. This arm I want to have raised most of the time, so it's probably going to get a lot of highlights. And then we could always tone things down with some black. Okay. I think that's the majority of our dry brushing. That went a bit quicker than expected. Oh no, I just can't dry brush with a wet brush. There's a shoulder pad and a gun as well to do. I've got more dry brush. I've literally got a bunch. When in doubt, go to boots and just grab random shit. Let's see. This arm will be facing down, so his shoulder pad, and then this just sits on top like a hat. So that should just take 2 seconds. Get that correct. Dry brushing is also just good if you just want to get if you want highlights without having to like try too hard. Just let the brush do it. Still recommend learning if you wanted to do it, but it can help. To be fair, I'm already it's the Sanguinor. Yeah, I'm looking at him as potentially a competition entry next year. Floaty Golden Angel man. The studio have a habit of painting in non-metallic metals, so I might try it in non-metallic metals and see how I get on. Right. Yep. Just get that highlighted. Just making sure everything is still working. It doesn't seem to have too much frame drops, at least. I know that's been an issue with these, but it seems pretty normal right now. Thankfully, that's all working. Let's look at that outside of this light. A little bit more. Just to make this even, and then I can tone them back the same amount. Yeah, there we go. Let's pop that down there, pop that shoulder pad out of the way. And then I could carry on. No, let's tone it back before we start highlighting. Facts. Do I just do a little bit of normal brush work? I got the paintbrushes all the way up here on a box next to me at the moment just to make this feasible. Let's just get a little bit of the same Dark Reaper on the palette. Get rid of that random stray hair from a fairly new brush. Got this pack of like a butt ton of paintbrushes from Hobbycraft like over a year ago, and I'm only just now getting to the end of it. It only cost me like 10 quid, and there was like it's like close to 100 brushes, I think. So worth it, even if they are cheap synthetics. And I'm just gonna put a little bit more of just pure Dark Reaper around. It's gonna look very messy, especially whilst it's wet. But we will tidy it up later. Just add a little bit more. Let's put a little bit more around the sarcophagus. Make the bit where the half dead guy is stand out a little bit more. Do want to put a little bit of red on the Aquila on these instead of the usual gold as well, just to make it feel a little bit more OTT. Yeah. Okay, dokie, dokie, dokie. Yeah, I'll work that up to pure. And then let's put a little bit knee pad. At least the one that's more exposed. A little bit more like that. Let's not forget our arms. So if this one's going to be down at the side, yeah, we'll just do just some very rough volumes. Doesn't need to be good, we'll make it good. Top of the arm joint. And the forearm. Yeah. Going for the bomb, like the sandwich. Yeah, we have that raised up. So let's just catch all what are going to be vertical faces on the hand, because there's some wacky ass geometry on this. That's the problem with where when I've been painting these. I've been looking at it as I've been packing all this up for the move. Thankfully, all my Blood Angels managed to fit in the one giant container I bought when I started this hobby. Still has some very old stickers on it. The black I paint tends to look a lot cleaner than the yellow, which, considering the difference between a regular like Blood Angel Marine and a Death Company Marine, that don't feel right. So I might see if I can have this guy be a little bit more rougher, especially with him being as big as he is. It just makes sense. He like there'd be some imperfections in the surface, some muck. I don't really want to add like actual mud and dirt. I just don't want the black to be like crisp and smooth and clean. It's like, come on, it's a Death Company. They are not calm individuals. I'll do no, a little too much water, and I just basically turn it into a glaze. Well, it's a gun. Okay, As that's dried, that's actually gone and looked a bit better. Okay, so we'll just pop the arms back on for now. You're gonna be thus, and you're gonna be this. Oh, that's actually the key on, which is quite convenient, but the shoulder pads get in the way of them keying on. So you, thankfully, those just slot on. Hello, Ryan. I had noticed your message pop up. It's popped up on stream, but not on my phone. So let me just reload the stream for a second. I don't want to have to keep looking at my laptop to see what people are saying. Speed 2 seconds. Da, 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 da. Boop. Oh, yeah, now it's letting you guys talk for some reason. Weird. Don't know what happened there. Maybe it's a, literally the only thing I've done different is I started slightly early. Uh, yeah, YouTube keeps filtering messages and it makes me sad. I just want to talk about your extended warranty. Oh, I'll have to get a new microwave, I suppose, then. Right, let's just grab all the bad and black, and we will just refine some of the edges. I know I was literally just talking about wanting these to look a bit more rougher and hewn like the rest of my Blood Angels, but there's only so many scritchy scratches and obvious edges that I can handle without it bugging me. I want some texture. I don't want cell shaded. Leave that for the Gundam painters and the people who want to do it. It's very tricky doing this with black because the black looks that much stronger whilst it's wet. It's hard to tell whether or not you've watered it down enough. There's a little bit of an imperfection in how I glued that, so there's a slight bit of texture I am just gonna hide. Bury it in shadow. This, I think I might just do metallic, so I'll just rebase that black anyway. We'll make that metallic at a later point. Still not filtering people, is it? Yeah. Just refine edges. Yeah, that was a bit too strong a layer there. So we'll let that dry and we'll give it another pass. And this we will just have get slightly darker towards the back edge. Just slight, doesn't need to be strong. I say, as I probably apply a little too much. Tell you what, see if we can feather it. Get a clean brush and just wet it. Yeah, that makes me a bit more confident there. Just smush it with a brush with no paint on it. And that should help. And then I'm trying to refine that. I'm going to cover it in a big red X in a moment. So, whoops. Practice is practice. So just smush a thin glaze of black about. Just in the areas that need darkening up. Hopefully a thin layer like that should dry a lot quicker too. Just, yeah. Again, that's gonna, wherever you see this little skull and crossbone piece, I am going to paint a big, like, red cross just to make it look Death Company. But, yeah, some of that roughness is going to be hidden by that. but I don't know how much. So that's my justification. This arm, on the other hand, is going to stay entirely black for the most part. So it just makes sense to actually try with that. Let's actually smudge with the big brush down here too. Actually, just going to put some like glaze on this big brush and just let that smudge things by itself. Let's just glaze a little bit towards the edge of this. A little bit of armor plating and a little bit there where the gun is going to be overlapping. Then just feather it a little too. Still want to feather it a little there where it is a bit blocky. Stipple a little too. Yeah, it's already looking better. It's mostly these front and center pieces that need this attention a little bit more. The rest, like the legs down, I'm not going to be too bothered about. Because A, you're not going to look at it as much, and B, they're just less exposed, so it just makes sense that they're going to be a little less refined in terms of the amount of detail on show. Right, there we go. I had that in my brush for that brush in my mouth that entire time. And I think, yeah, we'll just layer on the stuff for the big red X's. That I managed to muck up slightly somehow, so that's going to dry a bit hard. So I'll let that dry off to the side, and I'll just. I don't even know if that was on there. The little gun for the Icarus thing. I forget its full name. Icarus war gun shooter dude. So yeah, we'll get basing on the red X's. Gonna start with a Gal Vorbak red, which a lot darker than how it did the red on the Death Company Intercessors, but again, big guy. There's going to be a lot more contrast on him, so it just makes sense to start darker and work our way up to a similar highlight. Should make it look a lot bigger and bolder. And I'm getting pins and needles at the foot already. Ah, that is something I'm looking forward to when I've moved. Is eventually, with the help of or Linky, either having a new desk, inheriting the old one from him, or get getting myself a proper desk. So hopefully that should help with the whole pins and needles. Then, yeah, we'll use the actual skull and crossbones as the guide for the actual X. We just have it project out like that. And try and keep it even. It's not even, but we can even it up. There's going to be quite a chunky X. But chunky lad, get a chunky X. Use the bolts on the plate as the guide. Uh, so that actually kind of worked quite nicely for the first shot. If it was in focus, yeah. Needs a little refining. It needs another layer, honestly. This stuff is thin. It's always the very saturated but deep colors that have next to no coverage. And then we've got the one on his front plate here. Which, let's start drawing a line from the center of the skull there. The angle might end up looking different, but I don't think I've ever actually drawn a Def Company X that was actually neat. So, ain't gonna start now. Yeah, and then we just have it stop at the edge of that panel. It's like having that big shock of red on the armor just really helps set these guys apart for my guys. Normal Blood Angels, everything else is red, but yeah, man, that came out a hell of a lot chunkier. We will actually have to tone that down a little bit, I think. It's not quite the width I wanted, but it's there. And then we will match what we did on the intercessors and just do one on this knee as well. Have the marking actually be somewhere a normal human would actually be able to see it. Again, a little chunky, but we can refine it. My guts said to use a smaller brush. They were right, but at the same time, it's gotten the layer down really quick. All right. Yeah, let's just refine that shape. Back to the Abaddon. And we will use the actual smaller brush just to draw these lines in. One of the more normal sized ones I use. Let me just check something. Oh, yeah, okay. Problem is, these lines are quite fuzzy from being just a layer of a thin paint. So, not the easiest to make sure you're not overextending somewhere. But having a little bit of a black border around these two will be helpful in making them pop as well. Let's see. Yeah, we want that thinner on that top edge. Like that. We'll have to re-establish some Dark Reaper just to get the shading back, but hey, sometimes a little bit of back and forth is needed. And yeah, we'll just sharpen that like that. This one just kind of bloomed out a little bit. Evening, evening. Ah, I don't even know that none of that is showing up well on camera, but when have I ever done that? uh, yeah. That angle looks a little. I feel like I need to rotate that angle a little bit more. So if we can't do that here, if we do that, I'm having the difficulty of trying to apply a geometric shape to a curved surface at the moment. You'd think I'd be used to it trying to paint checkers on the shoulder pads, but no. It's always a little bit of a mind fuck. It just be like that sometimes. To be fair, I was gonna paint myself tonight, but honestly, I'm just gonna hunker down in bed early. Yeah, honestly, when you've got a bunch of stuff going on, it can be difficult to just sit down and paint. Like I finished off the tank I did on last stream, and I've just not really painted all that much since. Honestly, just accept your fate and play Harlequins next time. Oh no, I have tried to paint a Harlequin before. It hurt, physically hurt. I just tried to do the checkers on a single thigh, and I think I broke something in my brain. I think if I do ever play something like Harlequins, I'm just gonna give up and just paint them black and white. Make them look like an old 52 suit deck or something. I don't know. Always like the idea of basic Harlequins with dice. Like, you just take some old dice you don't like anymore and chop them up as basic material. Yeah, no, yeah, coward. Freehand hurts. Freehand hurt my brain. I like volumes and shapes. Well, the volumes. Freehanded gives shapes. It took me until, gosh, when did I paint that Votan Carl? Until like earlier in the year for me to be brave enough to actually give faces a proper go. I mean, I did it, but I was scared of doing it for a very long time. It was still difficult. I think I've shown him on stream before. The one with the little red mohawk. I'd say orange armor, but that's all of my Votan. He is on a shelf still because he's in the half of Warhammer stuff that I've not had the space to pack. So we'll come back and we grab it at a later date after the move. Right, there we go. At least the one on the front is looking, I won't say square, but it's looking okay. And we shall highlight that at a later point. Terry? No, not Terry, though he does technically have a face. Terry is an Einhyr, which is, so he's basically like the Votan equivalent of Terminator armor. In fact, screw it, I'll just show him. Not Terry, the guy I'm talking about. He is just about at arm's reach. He's this one with the little sword. Where's he? Where's he in focus? He isn't. But this little fella. Do you also have a Terry? I do have a Terry. Yeah, let me get Terry. Ah, I hope he does have a face, but bro, he's got like a weird ornate helmet on. So I've given him like a silver face, but this is Terry. Again, in focus, please. We do not like autofocus around these parts. Yeah, you can see like just the, even though they're both space dwarves, the only size difference between the two. So they're in the middle of the frame. This one does have a painted face. You have a bottle called Terry? This one just got called Terry because he was rounded orange. So I don't know. I don't know how you ended up with a Terry. Right. We shall carry on with the red X's here. Tell you what, this one is still fairly chunky, but it's gonna just be easy, I think, to do it solid and then clean it over rather than what I've just done with the other two. I do Terry and Jerry the romantic lovers. It sounds like the Von Carsteins to me. Granted, you do have Night Haunted Sigmar, so you could very much have the Von Carsteins hiding in there somewhere. I think one of them is still in the game, you know. I think they're one of the Mortarks. The ones riding around on the big skeleton horses. Right, so there we go. Now we can continue tidying up. So let's just... I just have to pull this guy out of the lamplight for a second. That line's a little thick, so we shall just... That was too much. Not Emperor's Children. Okay, you just gave some random dudes some names. Okay, fair enough. I am hoping Emperor's Children get rules soon, because there's some clue. Well, I say clues. There's the usual patterns that GW follows, and then they have left some very obvious clues in the same guise of when they were teasing Plastic Sisters of Battle, alongside Eidolon getting a new book. So I wouldn't be surprised if full-on Emperor's Children aren't too far away. To be fair, I wouldn't mind painting some. Just some hot pink and black is always a good color scheme. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to bend that line up a little bit. I'm on a curved surface, so I'm already breaking Euclidean geometry. I'm pretty sure I got this every single day. Yeah. It would be the last god-focused legion to get specific rules. So it, like I say, it just makes sense. And if GW or anything, they have pattern, they follow patterns. There we go. That line just needed a little bit of refining. So the bottom half of this X, I think, just that. It's like I don't want to be this to be immaculate, but I do want it to at least look right. Means trying to get this. I don't know typography. I don't know what you would call the X, like the lines. I'm sure they have a name. That's the kind of thing someone would give a name. Might have to look into that. Just so I can actually say what the hell I mean and have it be understood potentially. It's like when I was a kid and finally learned what the heck a serif was, and my brain went, "That's what that is. That has a name." Have you generally considered using a ruler and a white pencil? Yes. Uh, I used to use pencils all the time actually when I did my Lamenta checkers. Honestly, I kind of just prefer this process. Like it's harder, but I just kind of like it. It's like a weird fun. Plus, I believe, yeah, no, it was you that gave me the really long nail art brush, and that honestly has helped quite a bit. I used that on the checkers for my Land Raider and the Ball Predator I showed earlier, and that made doing those long lines down the armor plates like so much easier. I only had to do it the once. So anyone else who's doing long freehand lines, just get a really long thin brush. It's like the whole hairy line thing. If you're doing pencil sketching, you got to use your elbow to just have one smooth, continuous motion to get those smooth lines. Yeah, good trade for brush you can't accidentally putting in your mouth. Yes. God, that was literally just after this edition of the game came out. Yeah. To be fair, because I've only used it specifically for that job, it's actually lasted quite nicely. And I have seen a tip for people like me who insist on using synthetic brushes that you can unhook them. Like this one, it doesn't have that problem. Well, it's got that problem slightly, I say, as it is incredibly out of focus. It's starting to hook a little tiny bit at the edge, which is what synthetic brushes do. But I have seen, now it's the most like indulgent thing I've ever seen, but people get mug warmers, just these little USB plates that you stick your mug on to keep your drinks warm. But it's a warm metal plate, and people have used those to basically heat up the bristles on a synthetic brush and just roll it like just on the surface. And doing that, heating up the plastic a little bit and doing that just helps re-straighten the bristles on a synthetic brush. So that is tempting for me to try. It wouldn't be the first time I've gotten something completely unrelated to painting to help with painting. Honestly, entire nail art collection since transitioning has just become used for Warhammer. Radiant Resistance. raiding your Mrs. Nail Supplies or Boots is just a legit way to paint Warhammer. Yeah, no, it's literally where I got all these. This is just a foundation brush set from Boots, and they just get used for dry brushing. Heck, when I was helping Jason doing a little bit of tidying up last week, and he has just a pile of nail art like transfers. I thought they were stencils at first, but they're just legitimate transfers, like the ones you would just like water slide off the little backing and plonk on something, but for nail art. And there was just like hearts and checkers. It's like, yeah, I was going to use them for orcs, but they were too neat. So he just has nail art transfers just to hang it out, waiting for someone to want to use. So they seem incredibly useful for the right type of thing. That would be something that would be useful for the Eldar, the Harlequin's army, especially with all like the love hearts and things, because I think Eldar tend to use that for their symbolism as well. I'm pretty sure there's a craft world that just has a love heart for a symbol. Transfers are so useful. I stole my mum's. uh, yeah, honestly, like the weird amount of overlap there is between makeup and Warhammer. I actually watched makeup tutorials to learn how to paint faces, like the sort of T across your forehead and down your nose is like that's where you put most of like your highlights in your makeup to make your face stand out. So you do the same for your little army men. Like you put most of your highlights there. You basically just become a makeup artist for your army. And it works. It unironically works. It was something I was unironically able to ask my the hairdresser of a sister to sort of say, "Hey, does this look right?" And she pointed it out herself. It's like, okay, sweet, so it makes sense. If I did it the other way around, I learned how to paint faces by considering how I did makeup. Ah, yeah, fair. Considering life experiences, that process makes more sense for you. Good evening, hello, Jonathan. How deep are we in the industry of our own little satisfactory factory? Yeah, just after doing that little bit of highlighting, just re-establish the line. There's an outline. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I think this line just needs a second pass. It still looks a bit too bold. So we'll put that back over there. There we go. That'll help hide that line. And then on the knee, it's not quite even. I'm trying not to think about it. It's taking over my life. Yeah. No, yeah, that game is surprisingly addicting. It just takes me back to I believe it was during the COVID lockdowns. I went through because we played Satisfactory as a group, and then I went on a slew of hopping from factory game to factory game. So I played a little bit of Factorio. I played a little bit of another one, and then I realized, wait, I'm just doing the same junk over and over again, and then hitting the bit where it gets slightly difficult giving up and buying a new game. It's like, I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna go play something else. And reminding him of it how good hey look, the business is business. And the business requires us to send large spools of copper wire into space. I just hold that far too close to my face for it to be on camera. Just again, just put in some extra highlights on these panels, make them look a little sharper. Just a moment. Exactly that. This man understands business's needs. Spools of copper wire. Yes. Right. Okay. I think we're good in terms of just blocking out stuff. No, we're not. That black outline is way too chunky. So we will knock it down with a little bit more Reaper. I think I just need a bit of the paint neat. Just enough to actually be able to draw a line. It's at least somewhat opaque. There we go. And then on this one, we just actually need to make this bottom line a little thicker. There we go. And that is the majority of the drawing outside of the checkers and the love heart that we will do. Well, the white, honestly, that's going to be something I do off stream, as is usually the case. I just accidentally made that line thicker trying to tidy it up. So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Uh, that'll do. That'll do, pig. Every Friday is Bring Yourself to Work Day, followed by Silly Hat Day. Considering that game requires everyone to wear a hard hat, does that count as a silly hat? I think it could. Right, where to next? I don't want to just sit here and edge highlight all evening on a dreadnought. I also don't want to sit here and refine this weird ass highlighting like my hand has decided to currently. Oh, we'll just get that like that. They're thinking of changing every day to Bring Yourself to Work Day to really boost morale. uh, I hate that when ironically I could see that being a work email for certain places. Mostly somewhere in America would probably do something like that. Yeah. Okay, that's looking pretty alright. A little dusty. Hmm, that'll be fine. Bum, bum. Let's do some just regular basing. Because there are some bits I want to do red outside of these axes, so let's just slap that on. Start with the Aquila. Make that nice and red instead of gold. Make him really feel different. Feel like bring any able body to work day could improve production. Yeah, that's unpaid internships. Like you're able and physical. Well, you're physically able. Come on, come help. Come join the factory. We need someone to move these piles of coal from the mine all the way into the refinery. Man, this paint thins down really quickly on the palette. I think that's just what co-op is in that game: is bring your friend to work day and then they stay and they can never leave. Partially because you're on an alien planet, partially because they are addicted to making miles and miles of conveyor belts. The business doesn't approve of either internships or the use of the word slavery. Yeah. I mean, how many times has the computer in that game told us we're doing it for the sake of saving all the puppies and kittens on Earth? That's coercion, at least in some degree. So there we go. It's thin, but it's actually drawing at a decent neck. So I'll just spread that layer out. Okay, I think is that was there something else I wanted to do red? Let me look at the how they painted it on the data card to see if I get any inspiration. They did do red, yeah, red on the gun casings. The business refers the term unpaid internship really makes them feel like part of the team. I hate that this stuff is too easy to parody. You just have to start your career somewhere that you can't get paid. Well, we provide free training, saving the puppies and kittens and destroying the natural habitat of the lizard doggos. Yeah, but the lizard doggos are fine with it. We gave them a raspberry. That's all they need, really. It's just like, here's some food. All right, yeah, go on. Mine your coal. Yeah, basing the housing of the melter guns. Just gotta do the whole thing red, screw it. Really should have left these parts separately. But I am a dummy, and I got enthusiastic with the glue building this guy and all the other stuff that came in his box. I know of more Def Company than I know what to do with. Guess I'll just have to play Def Company. Not complaining, that fun. Um, why do these have iron sights on them? They're attached to his torso. They can be red. I'll need a smaller brush to get in there. But that does again add a little bit more red. And we'll get a little bit of white when we do the skulls and crossbones. And honestly, the sensor for this gun, I put the, I'll just leave the gun off for this. I can't be bothered to paint that right now. Accidentally smushed a little bit of red onto the cable that I don't want to be silver. Tidy that up. It doesn't matter if it gets on the white. The white's already going to need cleaning up anyway. I just blocked it in just so I know what it would look like. I don't. Now that I'm thinking about it, does Satisfactory actually have an end? Because there's an implied objective of like getting all this stuff to save the Earth, but I've never seen anyone actually show it. Like I ended up watching a video today where someone tried to build an entirely vertical factory. It was a mess. Like every single minor constructor and fuel burner had its own tiny, like 10-foot floor, and it hit the skybox by the time he actually went through the first phase. If it does, we are likely going to find out soon enough. Yeah, we're going through a pretty decent neck. I think the phases are only going to get exponentially longer as we get through them, as it seems to be the design. Or they're just going to get more complex that it just takes us longer to do them. But yeah, we can work our way there. We've gotten what feels like pretty far so far. We're already making what is it like computers and things like that. The needs of the business never end. They'll stop asking for things and we'll just keep making them anyway. Okie dokie dokie dokie. Okay, I think that's all red based. No, wait, hold on. There's a sarcophagus here. I always love doing that. In fact, this can come off, so it can come off. Let us paint the little. It's not an aquila, but it's a skull and wings of some sort on the sarcophagus. I'm half debating replacing the silver on the edge of this with this red as well, and I'm thinking I will. Just something a bit warmer and blammy. Yeah, it's going all right. Yeah, you're sort of plodding along with it. Yeah. Yeah. Again, the base coat's gone really watery, but bleh, trying to close that. Is that sticky? It's popped off the handle. You know what? I think no, that might actually be. It might actually be a bit, a bit too much red. I don't know. No, we'll do the border of the sarcophagus red. We'll leave that Aquila in particular to be gold, I think. So, well, we'll just let that base coat dry. And we've got a defined border here. Where this part was attached. In fact, let's just make it easier to see what it'll look like. How much is this scrub off? Mostly. There we go. Carry on with this banding. I think that's probably the best name for it. There's a lot of red on this, just to make it look angy. How does that look if I pop that on? Yeah, I think we'll just keep both of the Aquilas gold then, because that banding on its own is going to be enough red. Keep feeling like I'm seeing something in the corner of my eye on my screen, but I'm not. Just going insane again. And just the top of it up here. Okie dokie. So yeah, let's slap the gold on now while I'm thinking about it. Thankfully, I made the sense to have a pot of gold off to the side. So just the old Retributor armor, as is always. Let's get that on the palette. I think this palette is probably a little overwatered. I think that's what's happening. But I literally did it just for this stream. Right, sarcophagus is still wet, so we'll just hop onto this chest panel and just reapply that layer instead. Wow, that is way too watery. That's what I'm seeing. It's Steam notifications. So fresh is mostly water. I don't have to worry about it getting too gunked up. Yeah. Just a little banding. This gold goes over red actually fairly well now that I'm doing it. But that's just because it's already so thin from my overly wet palette. There we go. We'll let that dry. I can probably get away with getting a little bit of it on here just to block it out. Just to see how it would appear. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, that'll be fine. Nothing like a little OTT. Okay. Where next? Where next? Think we'll just block in. Let's block in the skulls and crossbones too. Like I say, just get it all established. Time around. It's already 9. Jesus. Wow. Yeah, just a bit of wraith bone, which is what I just use for all the bone, sculpted or otherwise. Yeah, it's because I just literally just slap it with some skeleton horde, and it does the job. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. An actual off-white that covers well. It just took a decade to get there. Yeah, just trying to think of something to talk about. I think, yeah, because like I said, the new Blood Angel stuff officially fully comes out on well on pre-order this weekend coming. So thankfully, I've already got all the rules thanks to that pre-release box or whatever you want to call them. But I am looking at the Sanguinary Guard and Sanguinor. Sanguinary Guard, well, they're both just fairly decent. Sanguinary Guard have a bit more of a defined role now, rather than having to compete with Dev Company and Vanguard veterans as they have done for so damn long. And Sanguinor is just a scary motherfucker in combat. It's like, oh no, you charged my unit. Anyway, here's half of Sanguinius's soul to the face. Yeet. Just immediately deep strike next to a unit that just got charged of yours in combat. It's like, hi, I'm here now, slap. That's what you get for attacking my guys. Sounds honestly kind of hilarious. Right, yeah. This'll need a second pass just to make it block out, but yeah, it's gone over fairly well, considering this is over black and a very dark red. That has gone okay. I used to dread painting things like bone and parchment back when I think it was the old Flayed One Flesh. Just you would need like what felt like 5 layers just to get a base coat down. It is Steam that I'm seeing. Okay. I'm thinking as well, if I do carry on this next year, I'm probably going to just start bringing in some background music. Just to carry on the vibes. Again, that's still an if. I could just do a blog, well, painting log of just what I've done. I think that might work, but that might require a slight amount of editing, and I don't know if I could be bothered to do that. There we go. Something about having the red banding on the sarcophagus makes it feel very old school, you know? I like it. It's just a vibe. Right, second layer of the gold. I'll just do a quick, thin, neat layer, because that should be enough for this hatch, at least. Never mind, it's still wet-ish in the deep recesses. Tell you what then, I got a little bit of white on the bits I wanted to be red, so we'll just tidy that up and we'll just start highlighting them. We'll build up that red into a nice bright scarlet. Go. Thankfully, Galvor back over the little smudges of Wraith Bone still look pretty similar to it over the original black from earlier. There we go. That took 2 seconds to clean up. The next jump in highlight for them then would be Mephiston Red. It's a nice, getting close to a letterboxy sort of red. There is, I think, some water is just sitting on top of this paper, you know. I'll live. Better too thin than too thick, I suppose. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll highlight it again based just on that. Yeah. Considering a couple more reds to use here, we can get most of this covered in Mephiston. Just the darkest bits with the Galvor back. Let's just get this arm out of the way. Off you pop. So, bolt. And this is going to be a little chunky, but with the amount of other reds that are going to be going on top, not a real concern. And I'm immediately getting red on the skull and crossbones. But you know what? We'll fix that mistake later. I can't be bothered to keep going back and forth in the middle of steps. Thankfully, Mephiston just covers as well as it does. Yeah. Yeah. It's really showing the slight jankiness of my lines, but let me have my jank. I'll just edge highlight the lines just to make them a little clearer. On the camera always reveals the mistakes more than in person, that's for sure. Oh well, we live. Like I can't just cover up any mistakes in black anyway. Just along top of this. Hopefully as well, if I can sort out a new desk, I can make a space for at least the last few streams of this that it works a little better than this setup. That's for sure. I think I am partially just limited by the space I have available to me. Because it is a very awkward setup at the mill. just work with the actual existing panel line. I could feel the P pops then when I said that, so let me move my mic slightly. Managed to get a little red there. Whatever. That could be fixed. We'll do it in post. Yeah. Yeah, just edge around that. There we go. It's been a bit of a sleepy day. I'll give that. I've done a little bit more of my packing, but just autumn. Autumn just makes me sleepier and hungrier. So if I'm sounding low energy, yeah, it's just the season. And the carbs my body craves right now. I can't be the only one that gets that, right? Like as soon as it starts getting darker, you just want to like constantly eat, even as someone who doesn't really eat a whole lot. Very confusing. I just noticed how that line there is a little too thick, so just gonna quickly clean that up because it just looks uneven. It's not like it's crooked. It's just a little off center, and it annoys me. Have to draw that in. How's that looking? Yeah, there we go. Bit better. We'll need a little bit of Reaper just to make it just not a big line. But ew. Next red. I'll just focus on. Oh no, I've got a need to do. I'll just focus on doing the red X's for now in terms of shading and higher and getting the blocks in. The actual sarcophagus is just going to be a lot more tedious and a lot less interesting to watch. Not that this is the most riveting experience, but you know. These have never been edge of your seat streams. These have just been I sit down and put goop on a dude. Though I am debated. Like I say, I don't know what the points are going to be like for these because even though they're printed in the codex, they do sometimes get changed not long after release. Just because, like, new rules, things just need tinkering and balancing a little bit. And I know what I'm thinking could work. It's just whether or not I go through with it. The whole eating more in autumn sounds like your body is preparing to hibernate. Yeah. No, yeah, it's partially that. And did you previously say that you only have one meal a day sometimes, or is that you can survive on one meal? It's just that I usually just only eat one meal, yeah. Like, uh, today, for an example, I got the ready meal I had for today, and would usually just be like the one meal. I have the occasional snack as well, of course, so that's just normal. And I was just feeling that a little bit more Moorish, so I just went to the fridge. It was a chicken tikka, okay, so don't judge. That I didn't really have anything that I could just easily add to that as a meal. So I just ended up microwaving a tortilla with some cheese in it alongside it, and you know what? Uh, they didn't go bad together. It gave me the carbs and the cheese I think my body desired. But yeah, I think it is partially that your body wants to build up stores in winter, just because like your body's just used to not getting as much. Well, it's just like evolved in an environment where you don't get as much in winter, so it's just like okay, squeeze in what you can now before we have to go a while less. Same, yeah. And that, and with that, I propose a theory that you are in fact a bear. A bit too skinny for that. Are you someone that eats when he's hungry rather than? No, I eat at set times. Like I usually just tend to eat the same time every day unless I've got some like if I'm at home, usually around 5 because I know if I don't eat at the set time or if there isn't like I know we're gonna if I'm with friends if we're gonna be going to eat later on, I'll potentially forget to eat. Which I'd rather not do. Yeah. Going back in with some of the Galvor back just because I got some of the bit too bright in that panel line. This should really be the darkest red. There we go. Let's redefine that a little bit. Black lines on the axis are still way too strong. Hold on. That's bothering me. I know I just went back in to redefine them a little bit, but it's because they're getting a little lost and fuzzy and thin. But yeah, I suppose it is just that. My body's just like, okay, we know that winter is where there's less plants about, so there's going to be less food around typically, so just store up what you can. It's like, okay, cheese tortilla it is. My body does not recognize the fact that I do not live in the middle of nature. How's that looking on camera? It's looking better on camera. It's still looking. It looks a lot sharper on camera than it does in person. That's annoying. How the hell? White balances, eh? That literally that line's almost like here underneath this bit of the X. That line has almost disappeared in person, but in camera it looks like a bold black line. Oh, it's so annoying. Okay, just don't look at the stream camera. Just focus on the chat in front of you. Right, so going from Mephiston to Evil Sun's Scarlet, to an even brighter red. Just gonna add a little bit more contrast. Yeah, there is legitimately some water sitting on the top of this. Oh well, these are basically going to be glazes, and just highlight. Yeah. Now, important question, and I promise this is not related to my previous comment, but do you have a strong preference for fish and honey? I have not caught a salmon in my mouth once in my life. If that is any help to that query. I do like honey, but I just have a sweet tooth anyway. And I can go without a picnic basket for a while. Eh, Uh, yes, keep that line. Yeah, we'll just basically edge highlight, a thick edge highlight with it down this low down on the armor. Again, that is not on camera, but also with that angle is completely blocked by light. Yeah, you haven't caught a salmon in your mouth. You keep trying, and I reckon you'll get that. This isn't the sort of thing to hype me up on. Do you know any pigs, tigers, or depressed donkeys? Well, not donkeys. Depressed, maybe. Skill issue. Hey. Yeah, that's looking all right. Again, not perfect, but it's a. I wanted a scrappier looking look, so let's just do the same here. So up half third-ish of this. Yeah. Danny, do not call me that. Who is that Chinese government that started banning people for calling him Winnie the Pooh. John, I'm sorry to be the one to make you aware of this, but I think those animals you just described are us. You can decide between yourselves who is who. If I'm the Pooh, it's all those kids making cheap horror films and games out of me because the public domain license thing happened. There we go. Yeah, as we get lower, just basically turn it into a thick edge highlight. Ooh, I want to be the depressed donkey. Do you really? Please don't make me a fairy. I know that's meant to be I beg of you, but 9F you? That's impressive. I thought my spelling got wacky. That's just because my hands have to keep bouncing between keyboards and it's annoying. To be fair, why haven't Disney made anything with? I think the last thing they did with Winnie the Pooh, I think it was that film of Ewan McGregor as like a grown-up Christopher Robin. I think that's the last thing they've done with him for a good while. Maybe he just doesn't pull in the bucks. Who knows? Or they're too busy making Will Smith blue. There we go. Yeah, that's looking pretty alright with a first edge highlight. I want no, it's I think it's Lilo and Stitch is like the next live action film, which is like, yeah, they do plenty animated stuff. I suppose you would know the one with the 3-year-old child. Then again, I say keeping track of film releases is tough. Half the films nowadays seem to flop because they just forget to advertise them, which is like, come on, that's 101. People won't go see your film if they don't know it doesn't exist. There we go. That one I just ended up highlighting it mostly in the middle because it is basically on a cylindrical surface. And I can go back in with the Galvor back as it waters down to glaze a little bit. In fact, yeah, I'll do that now because the last color for this is just going to be the actual edge highlights. Alternative film of Lilo and Stitch. Lilo has a stitch and has to deal with it for the rest of the movie. Incredibly boring film. Probably gets an Oscar or two. I really liked Lilo and Stitch. I remember like I forget when because my family we had a skybox as I was growing up, and we never had the Disney channels until randomly my parents just decided to get the package with the Disney channels on it, and that's how I found out that there was a Lilo and Stitch like animated series, where it was basically just like, if Stitch is experiment 600 odd, well that means there's about 600 other experiments that are like him, and they go around trying to capture them all. It was a lot of fun. There was some. It was still very like early mid 2000s TV Disney in a lot of ways, but I don't know. I like that sort of thing. But then again, I got weird choice like preferences when it comes to like the actual animated Disney stuff. Like I think I'm the only person I know that would say Hercules is one of their favorites. But that's just like a weird mix of like superhero, Greek, and the trends that the Aladdin film set for Disney at the time. Weird anachronism, like a lot of the humor based in like the weird anachronism of it all. But I kind of like that. Basically, turning Athens into New York. It's a lot of fun. Just gonna actually edge highlight do with the top of the axis here, like that. Plus, you get Danny DeVito as a goat, which that's this is something else. Highlight the bolts on this plate. That needs a tiny bit of refining. Tell you what, let's actually use this Mephiston for something. Just smush that around a little bit of glazing. This is why I like red. It's a very easy color to glaze with and muck about with. I know some people have difficulties with it, but I just kind of vibed with it. It's just a good color in general. It's just a shame the only red army I had was Admech, and I've just kind of gone off of them. Just kind of got boring. And I've got, to be honest, I've got more than enough armies. There we go. That has tidied that up a fair bit. Yeah, there we go. Some nice strong X's. And a little bit of orange for the highlighting. That knee could do with a little bit more contrast actually, compared to the other blood crosses. It's looking a little flat. So let's just build in a little bit more shadow and have it really pop in the middle. See if we can't do a little bit of cheeky wet blending. Don't do that enough. And that's why it's difficult. It's something I can't easily do in a flow state, which is what I like to hit. Like especially up towards the bottom. Let those be darker. And then a little bit up here. And then it's that was a blob of black on the tip when I just want the tip to be black. There we go. We need to find that and just draw across that because that red is getting a little fuzzy and stuff. It looks better. It's not quite as. I suppose there's extra contrast making the darks look darker because there's the big white crossbones in the middle of those other ones too, which is gonna look a little uneven anyway. Okay, I can justify it then. And let's just tidy up some of the refinement we did. Just to thin out those lines. There we go. And if not, that one's actually looking pretty good without much touching up. Yeah, so I guess we just go with the actual red highlight. This is gonna. This has ended up being like most of the streamers do with these crosses, but I like how they've come out. Just straight up Troll Slayer orange. Like this is nuclear. It's actually just because I got this guy on the side is what I use for the edge highlights on the orange on these, so you can tell how bright an orange is going to be. In fact, he could literally walk between this guy's legs if he wasn't on a base. That's quite funny. I just need them to update the Votan to have big mechs and give us the damn trains. Troll Slayer, because it's an edge highlight and it's already such a bright color, I'm not even going to put it on the palette. I'm just going to use this stuff neat. So we will start with the obvious highlights, like the bolts. Bolt. The actual topography of the model. Even in the darkest bits, get a little orange, make the little orange obvious. There we go. Just highlight that up super bright. and along the actual edge. Again, barely on camera, but it's there. You can actually already see the difference on that compared to the rest of the acts. Yeah. It's just weird thinking like I do this stream and then I finish packing up my paint, and then the next time I paint, it's not going to be at this desk. Which, huh. Like I've moved house before, recently-ish, like 3 years-ish ago, almost to the month actually. But it never feels real that it's about to happen. It just sort of happens, and suddenly you're like, oh, that's new. This is just the reality of my life now. Huh. So we'll see how I get through that. The bolt, then along. Right, this is actually starting to dry in my brush, so I do need to wet it. I do need to keep the paint kind of thick, just to get some clean lines. I probably could go back and do the gold on the sarcophagus by this point, but no, I'm too deep here now. We're doing this now. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Happy with that shoulder pads come out. It's a little uneven. I can really see it now that it's all highlighted up, but screw it. If there's something that has defined my army painting so far, it's muckiness, textures, and uneven lines, and I like it. This is my version of good. Spend a month in the new house and it'll feel like you've been there for years. Honestly, you're right. Yeah. It'll feel like it's not happening. It'll happen, and then it feel like it's always been like that. And it's freaky. And I got so used to living in a house with no stairs either. I'm gonna get used to stairs again. You're gonna hear me huffing and puffing, just trying to go to the bathroom. It's like, I'm not used to climbing. But it should be good. Should be a good time. Shouldn't be a difficult move. The people I'm moving in with, I trust. I've learned a lot since when I lived on my own at uni. So, should be grand outside of, I don't know, the house itself exploding. Which, I think that's what we call a corner case. Shouldn't happen too often, things going right. Just them. Why? I mean, it's a good question. You know people for long enough and you just presume they'll be good. Like, well, he's not bitten my face off yet, so I'll just presume it's not on his, itinerary. A couple of untrustworthy savages in my eyes. Guess I'll just have to train them a little bit. And when it's me doing the training, oh boy, you're fucked. Something that was funny working on one of my night shifts a few days ago. there's a team at my workplace that was set up by the people that bought our company last year, and they have absolutely no idea about what our workflow is, who's in what position, etc. They just ask us like, our customers asking about this, what's happened? It's like, I don't know, it's not anything to do with us. Like that's 90% of the conversations, and one of them pops up was like tagging me. He's like, I see you're the shift lead. What's happening with this? Is like, I'm the shift lead. Fuck, I wish I was being paid like I was. That'd be nice. Who says I'm the shift lead? Anyone I know. Anyone smart enough. Yeah, just like that. It's a little chunky in terms of the lines, but we can clean that up. But that's all of our red X's highlighted. Like I say, just a little tidying up. Thankfully, red goes over orange quite nicely. Like, if I'm in a position of power in a workplace, something's gone awry. I mean, my last job, I almost got made a supervisor. Can you imagine that? Would not have gone well. Would have just sent everyone home, not because they were bad, just because, like, nah, this place sucks. Everyone go home. Why? What about pay? I don't know. Not my job. I'm doing you all a favor. Get out of here. Yeah, there we go. All right. Last 20 minutes of the stream, and that is all we've accomplished is some painted X's. And some base codes. Let's actually redo that goal now. I've got 20 minutes. There's our sarcophagus cover. And this one hair on this brush is gonna ride. Can I yank it out? Yep. There we go. That's what I get for using a 30p brush. It's a 30p brush and a 30k model. I'm not even. I keep doing it in a position that feels comfortable. You'd think after almost a year of doing this, I would have learned where my camera's eyes can actually see. But no, I forget that I'm on camera. Can you imagine if I was an actual streamer? That would have been disastrous. There we go. And the one on the actual sarcophagus. Yeah, that one's still. Yeah, that's the null oil getting all in that joint. But it's a fun joint that it has. Just fold down his face. And get back to this Aquila. It has overspilled a little bit onto the actual flat of the panel, but honestly, between washes and the fact that it's black, and I can just cover it up with some black paint, whatever. I just thin down some black paint to just have a capillary around. If it gets on the red, it gets on the red at this point. It's a very small, tight space. Can you imagine streaming Warhammer painting crazy stuff? I know, alright. There are some people that do this somehow for a living, and it's like I would go insane. I think like this is what I use to cope. I tried to make money off of it, and it was miserable. This me streaming it now is literally just like giving me an obligation to make sure I do it like in a certain way, so I actually have something to do. Well, something to show for it at the end of the year. I'm still planning like once this is all like 2,000 points fully painted, I slap it down on the table. Like, all right, playing a game with this. Let's have the rare occasion of someone actually having a fully painted army on the table. Right. That one's almost there. Doing better than me? Yeah, your stuff is still in boxes, but also you've. I need to actually like. I suppose teach is word. I don't know. Saying you need teaching just sounds a little too rudimentary. To get you in the habit of painting, and you can fly through stuff if you're not doing anything too complicated. But me, I gotta make it complicated, and it ended up getting way too thin again. This time from color that was already on the model. Well, paint water that was already on the model. Uh, man, I only ate 5 minutes. I'm watching the timer now. That's the worst part. Right, you know what? I'm going to quote unquote play with this joint a little bit to see if that loosens it up. Because you can see how much it's moving the model we doing it. There we go. That's all skunked up. So let's just see how that looks if I throw it all on. Well, place it on. Yeah. You know, I might actually just change that sarcophagus banding to be black. I know I keep changing it back and forth, but honestly, I can't decide. Like the square around it, I can't decide what color I want that to be for some reason. Like the official just has it silver, which I mean, it works, but I'd have to repaint the silver. Hmm, I'll figure that out later. Screw that. That'd stop being interesting. I struggle to stay busy sometimes. There are days where I do nothing because I'm tired from work and fatigue makes my tension headaches worse. So I kind of have to push through it. Yeah, no, we have discussed the whole tension headaches before. Like, yeah, maybe just having something to chill out with regularly would help. You like me though, like back when I was on like the normal 9 to 5, I also just still kind of struggled to paint anyway, just because of like the exact same reason was the fatigue. But like I say, I would probably paint a lot more involved than what you would end up doing. Like if you're just painting for fun, not trying to like go crazy, then you could probably like just do a pretty chill color scheme and just wing it really. Just have like a little creative exercise now and again. Be good for the head. Right, my brain's decided I'm just gonna repaint this black. It doesn't quite look right in the end to me, so back in we go. And like, what is it we've got? We've got Tyranids that we're still kind of honing in on a color scheme for. Demons, which we kind of figured out we've like wanted something similar to the official schemes, but with like a little something extra to make them just a little less boring. And then you have been thinking about Black Templars, which I mean they're pretty simple. I mean you just see me paint a bunch of black, and that's just one way to paint black. Yeah, I just add blue to make it a bit more colorful, but some people like just sticking with the grays, keeping it, you know, just pure values. Which I mean those are decisions as well. Plus, Space Marines are just kind of fun to paint. I won't lie. Yeah, there we go. That's looking a bit better. I can at least go back and make that silver. I think that is going to be it. Yeah, I'll recover up the visor as well. Just enough to darken it, just so I can reapply the silver without it looking a bit janky. because I think some of my dry brushing of Dark Reaper ended up getting on there. And just kind of looked a bit mucky. I think it also managed to get on the exhaust, but I think that should be easy to cover up there. Right, while that's drying, let's tidy up the skulls and crossbones. Like having, I think that's something I've found from just trying to stick to this challenge. There is an advantage to having multiple armies with like no immediate focus. Like I've been focusing on my Lamenters and I've missed being able to just immediately bounce from one color scheme to another. And it's like there is something very nice about just going, okay, today I'm going to paint some yellow Space Marines, but next time I'm going to paint like some blue Necrons, and the other time I'm going to do like some black and yellow orcs, and the next time, and just trying out just loads of different stuff is very freeing. And I have missed it slightly this year. So you do have that as an advantage as well. Honestly, the most fun part of this sort of stuff is learning it all, so yeah, look forward to that if you want me to help you deep dive into shit. Before you'll know it, you'll have some like brand spanking shiny toys. It just takes a little bit of perseverance sometimes. And I think that's what stops a lot of people. Which, you know what, I can't really judge. This is the sort of thing I could not see myself doing if I hadn't already been doing it for so long. Right. There's a bunch of little things drying, and nothing else I can immediately feel like I can just jump into. There's a whole bunch of paints over to the side here that I had already, and I just have not gotten to. I forgot I had the black contrast put out. Why water down black paint when I've got black Templar, Black Legion contrast? That works too. Whatever. Just some contrast paint over the bits I want to make black. That would have made some of the line work a little bit easier. But hey, I'm got monkey brain. If it's not in front of me, I forget it exists. It's just mixing with the wet black paint there, so that'll build up into a solid. Well, I don't need this black here to be solid on the edge of the sarcophagus because that's going to end up being silver again. But on the inside here, around the gold where it's spilled out, that needs to be solid because I was a little messy. Then on the sarcophagus panel. Again, don't even know if this is on camera. No, it is not. Good job checking. Though you're not missing anything too interesting. This is a very old brush I picked to do this. But yeah, weird that this is a black contrast paint that sometimes just covers better than the regular black paint. Very good for just getting panel lines and things done. What's that? Still wet. And how have I managed to spill gold all the way down there? Jeez. Whatever. It's also winter. That's going to slow down the drying time of my paint. That's what I'm experiencing too. Ah, I forgot that's a thing. Annoying. But you know what? Considering the time, uh, let's just assemble this guy back up. If I smudge that gold, we need to smudge it. Considering the size of this thing, and then it's only been a couple hours, I've actually done more than I expected to. So let's just reassemble. and the Icarus hat. So obviously got some dry brushing on the actual metallics to do. But I figured I'd wait until I'd done other things before I'd do that, just to make sure it stays clean. I'm also going to need to make sure I don't overwet my palette again, because boy howdy, that was annoying to deal with. I don't know why I decided to just put red on this sensor. There we go. Yeah, so it's mostly just like dry brushing the silvers, making the claw tips, I think, have that sort of like blue energy look. Well, the metallic blue look. The melter guns, final edge highlighting on the black, and then obviously our checkers because Lamenters. And that for 2 hours, honestly, that could look a lot less further along. Sometimes black models just paint up super quick. So 5-2, how dry are these crossbones? Let's see what the skeleton horde looks like on these. That's because I think that'll be a nice little victory thing to just have those glowing white shapes suddenly have some definition to them. So just neat skeleton horde from the pot on my brush and just slam it on. Should help neaten up the edges and add a lot of definition. And the red drop on the forehead of the skull, I can go back with the red paint over a white-ish surface and should paint up super quick. There we go. And then if there's a little too much, I can just rinse it away after cleaning the brush. To be honest as well, Ryan, if you wanted to learn a quick way to paint, contrast paints are going to be perfect for half the stuff that you would want to paint. Like demons and tyranids go really well with contrast paints just because of all those nice organic shapes. It'll be like kind of monotone and simple, but they'll have definition. Like just that one contrast paint over. It's not showing well on camera, but there's that one contrast paint over those skulls and crossbones, and you can already see, even on my muddy camera resolution, the shapes are there. And the volumes are showing a bit better. It also doesn't help that this light is actually kind of blowing things out a bit. Hold on. It's helped, but yeah, it's still not the perfect view. There we go. But yeah, somehow that was 2 hours. That flew by, considering. And this guy is already a good way along. Okay, weird as it is. Oh, quite different to your usual palettes. Yeah, that's why I like the Death Company. Like I've got like so much yellow and white running around. Having blacks and reds for like these specific units, they really pop. Just yeah, it's good for gameplay because people know Death Company when they see it, especially in my army. But also just it's some internal variance in the same army. That's why I'm looking forward to getting some Sanguinary Guard because they're gold, like entirely gold. I'm fine with simple, to be honest. God knows I like to be ambitious with my projects that aren't immediately achievable. Yes, some of the ideas you had for like Tyranid and Demon schemes were really cool ideas. I would find them a bit of a challenge to do. If you start simple, you can always build up. It's always been like a good mentality. Nice, simple color scheme, and then if you got an idea to make it cooler when you're feeling confident to be able to make it cooler, you do it then. Like just have that simple initial color scheme basically be like the landing pad for the cooler ideas that you can achieve later on. But yeah, it's all about it's all about accessibility in a way. Painting, learn the fundamentals of painting, and then you'll figure out like what ideas you like. There's cool ideas, and then there's ideas that you know you'll enjoy doing. But you got to learn to paint first to be able to determine that. Yeah, let me just put him there like that then. See, don't need that there, so don't need to wait for that to dry. That can just go. But yeah, not bad in terms of progress. For yeah, could still darken up some of the panels, but honestly, having a lot of the lighter greys up high on the torso and the legs, so underneath the rest of the model is fine. But that ain't bad at all. Hopefully, next stream, which would either right at the end of this month. I know I am working over like the actual Halloween time just because of my rota. So maybe a bit before the end of the month or uh, beginning of November, this will be done and we can start on the next thing. And then there'll be one more thing to do, and that's the year. That is scary to say out loud, but hopefully in that time I can figure out what it is I'm actually doing to finish off the list. Finish off the whole 2,000 points. I gotta walk before I could run. Exactly, exactly. But this guy should help fill in that gap. This guy is a hefty number of points just for the damn stat line that he's got. Let alone the rules and the big hands. Yeah. Like I say, I'll probably end up like everyone that's here is someone I talk to one to one anyway. So if anyone's ever curious, once I've figured out what I'm doing next, I'll let people know, or you'll see it in the thumbnail when I next do the next live preview when I know what it is I'm doing and when. But for now, I think that's it for this evening. Next time we'll be in a different location. Um, a whole lot will change. Maybe, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I need to actually pack this camera and the rest of my paint now. First, let's get this off of here so my palette can dry. Okay. Huh. Weird feeling. But thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully it's been enough of a chill time. Uh, and yeah, hopefully should have something nice and shiny to show for it come next month. Ta-da, ta-da.